The Nathan, Nat and Shaun podcast.
Wake up in the morning feeling shiny.
Gee, I gotta go to school. What, Shaun?
What's this from?
The Grassy Junior High.
Okay.
This is a true indication of school, of what school was like.
Yes,
for
and
us
also
all.
it's a way for people to figure out exactly how old you are.
The Grassy Junior High has had many
I know,
different iterations. since.
Yeah, that's true.
You got another one for us?
So no, just that. I want to talk about schools here in Perth because I didn't know this was happening, right? So students at some of Perth's top schools have had their enrolments cancelled after it revealed their parents falsely claimed they lived in the same catchment zone as the school. This is unbelievable, right? So I was going to
Imagine
list
this
the
happening,
schools.
Sean.
Yeah, well, that's amazing, Nate. Never seen this before.
Yeah, so documents showing at least 10 families have had their children's enrolments cancelled. So they will cancel your child's enrolment.
Yeah, if they
and
find
questioned due to catchment fraud, they're calling it, at one of Perth's most sought-after public high schools over the past 5 years. So it's got a list of some of the different schools, you know.
Ross Moyne's one of them, very highly sought after.
So
John
the Ross
Curtin.
Moyne one is very, very interesting, right? So the Ross Moyne, they had a house in question, a student in question.
Yeah.
So they went and visited the property a few times in 2018. Okay, then they made contact with the owner, and they said they have never been present, and the owner cannot confirm that they reside there, but they can confirm that they are paying rent. So. The people that have been dealing with this have turned around and said they've heard of anecdotal stories before that people have rented in a particular school catchment zone just to enable that their child gain access
So they've got
to
an
what
address.
they deem. So literally, these people are renting a house and not
but
living
not living
in
in
it.
it.
This person rented a house.
Well, no wonder we've got a rental
and
crisis.
didn't live in it.
Who would think of that idea?
Sean's writing it down right
Sean.
now. So,
Sean.
Sean, does this strike a chord?
2 years ago, I was doing this with my older son. I was just going to pop him in a place.
Just a tent on a medium strip?
Yeah, just the cheap asses joint that you can think of. You know those flats out there?
He was going to move into my spare room, is what he's saying.
Around us is all these shitbox flats, for want of a better term. Sorry about the language. But, that's the lengths you need to go to because you want to move your child into a particular school. But if you're outside of that catchment zone, if it's going to cost you
But he got into a
$100.
specialist program, so he didn't need to do that. But weren't you doing it with
wasn't
your
like that at
primary
the
school
time.
kids as well? Because you didn't live in the Richmond zone, and they went to Richmond Primary School.
Allegedly.
So how did that happen?
I did this.
How would you happen?
I've done this all the time.
Yeah, but how? Like, how did you do that? How did you do that when you just lied on a form?
100%.
You just lied on a form?
Yes.
I can tell you that years ago, a friend did ask me if he could use my chiropractic
this
clinic
live?
address so that he could get his kid into the school.
Everyone's doing it.
Yeah. Can I tell you another thing?
Oh, yeah, okay, go.
When I was a kid as well, Mum and Dad were moving out of the East Fremantle zone for football, and we are a staunch East Fremantle
Yes.
family.
Yes.
So we had
you
to
lied
then-
about your address?
My brother Ben, I think we're living out in the South Fremantle zone, so then we transfer the name over to Rove's Joint,
Yes.
Gamma Court. They were in June Place.
Yeah.
Just so we could make sure. And that's the same with
So
the
that,
school.
so that Ben would play for East Fremantle, not South Fremantle.
Yeah.
So how many generations of your family have been involved in catchment fraud? Does this go back to the 1800s?
We get Grandma Mac on, I tell you what.
Nathan, I know somebody that works at a primary school and in the office, so she's in charge of this sort of stuff, and she said it's rampant. She just doesn't ask too many questions, but if their numbers get too close to the threshold, they then have to, because if people from within the catchment can't get in, they have to start looking around saying, how do we make some room here?
Do you reckon some of the undesirable schools ever have to worry about this?
Certainly not a problem in Kalgoorlie, is it?
The Nathan, Nat and Shaun podcast.
Tasma, Walton.
Hello.
Hey,
good
Tasma.
morning.
So, Tasma, before we get into the amazing movie that you've made, I want to talk about family dinners. And when you're asked to bring a plate, what do you bring?
Oh, when I'm asked to bring a plate, look, my default setting is always Lamingtons. I'd rather any dinner just be about dessert.
As in, do you make the lamingtons or do you buy them?
Long tradition of making Lamingtons.
Really? Okay. What's the
But
secret
these,
to a good
these
lamo?
days, Well, it's you do not mix your chocolate sauce with your coconut.
Ah.
So you've got to use separate hands.
Yes.
That's absolutely
We,
the same.
years ago, we spoke to a guy and and he rang up to tell us the difficulties he has when making lamingtons.
Mm-hmm.
And then we said, well, talk us through the method. How do you make them? And then he said he butters bread, stacks it together, and then butters the outside and then dips it in Milo. And we said, that's not a lamington. That's not a lamington.
It was
Some
pretty
weird
easy to...
invention of your own mind.
It was easy to figure out where he was going wrong.
That's a lamington, mate.
That's a great skill. Remember Lamington drives at school? You always have to do that.
Yes.
Yes.
Your mum and dad would have
Many
to
of
foot the bill
those.
because you'd just been knocking them off left, right and
Yeah.
centre before you sold any of them.
I know. Good times.
Actually, when Tasma just walked in, she said, is there a birthday coming up? Because the family, the extended family's so big, there's always something
I was
happening.
going to say,
never
in
know
that
who what's
family, there's
happening.
always a birthday.
So,
Yeah, pretty much
so the
yes,
answer is
that's
yes, but we
Yes.
just don't know who.
Just
She's a lucky dip. Draws no name out of the hat.
Exactly.
It'll be one of them.
Now, you've made a movie, another one. You're very prolific these days, I tell you what. Sweet As, which was filmed up north.
It was up in Port Hedland and
Yeah.
surrounds, up in the beautiful Pilbara area.
Yeah.
Can I just say,
Amazing
Tasma,
scenery.
It is beautiful, and every time I see a movie that is shot in Western Australia, or straight away I just go to, God, that must have been hot.
Yes.
Well, you guys were up there late in the year. You're right, Nathan. I remember Karajini in particular.
Yeah. So, well, a lot of it was sort of Karratha and Port Hedland, Millstream, Karajini, around that area. But no, we were there sort of mid-year, so it was actually
Oh, it was okay.
beautiful.
That's the
It was
perfect
probably
time.
the perfect time.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was so gorgeous. I love that dry heat.
Yeah.
Put me near a pool in the dry heat, and I'm the happiest.
Yeah,
person.
humidity though is the worst. Like it's one extreme to the other, isn't it? I've been in Broome in November and I've never felt more oppressed in all my life. It's just so awful.
Yeah, it can be absolutely horrendous.
Yeah.
Oh, I was thinking because I think Rofe said that he was up in Karajini. I thought you guys went up there later in the year.
We did actually. We sort of did a quick trip up there in December.
Yeah.
Which again, it was warm, but you know, you've got all these incredible water holes to go and visit.
Yeah.
You can walk down all those stairs, get really hot, and then jump in. And I think the movie really captures the landscape as a character.
Yeah.
You know, you can really feel the energy of those landscapes. So. Yeah, beautiful.
We've recently worked with a bus as well, a minibus. We were with the Premier and we went on a road trip with him and the bus got broken into outside of the Bunbury Dolphin Centre.
Did it really?
Yeah. With press and everything everywhere.
Yeah.
Oh,
And police,
my
like the
Unbelievable.
Premier's police detail
Yeah.
was with us
Yeah.
too.
So how did you go with your little minibus?
Oh, I loved my bus.
Because you're the driver, that's part
Loved
of your
it.
character. That's
yes,
what she
that's
does.
right. She drives the bus.
Yes.
My bus was her name was Betty.
Yes.
She was a manual, which I loved. There is a
You can drive a manual in real life?
Of course.
Of course.
Yes, of
So
course.
these days, kids can't drive manuals
No.
and it's going to be bad news in the apocalypse.
It
Get
will
going,
be.
Taz.
I agree. I'm absolutely with you on that one. Look, I love my bus. There is a deadly bus stunt that I did.
Yeah.
Didn't make the film. So
Was it going around a roundabout without hitting the curb?
No, I had to go real fast and then stop really quickly, and the
Yes.
whole back of the bus, like it was on a gravel road.
Oh, so it would have
slid
fished
out from behind.
Yeah.
Like, you know, adrenaline rush. But then I did it the second time.
Yeah.
And it was amazing.
That would be
so
the first
cool.
thing that you would want in, so you can tell it. Look at this,
Yeah,
I
look
did
at
this
that.
myself.
I did exactly
Do all
that
my
when I
own
did
stunts.
the ADR. I was like, "Where's my bus stunt? Like I could have a second career here as a stuntie."
That
with
must be
incredible
so
bus stunt.
frustrating as an actor.
Yeah.
To know that you've done one of your favourite things you've done in the movie and then to go and see a final version and not be there.
Not there. I
Does that
know.
happen a lot?
It actually happens a lot more than you like to think it does.
That's devastating, isn't it?
It was particularly devastating because I was very happy with myself.
Oh, yeah,
So
yeah.
can you tell us a little bit about the synopsis of the movie for people that are wanting to know?
Yes, so it centres around a young girl, a young Indigenous girl, who is what they say is an at-risk kid.
Yes.
She's got some family troubles. And then there's this team that comes in, my character and Carlos's character come in with a photo safari, basically a way of taking those at-risk kids out of their everyday environment and giving them, you know, something different to experience, taking them out on country, engaging with country through an artistic lens, you know, through a photographic lens.
And actually an actual camera, not an
Yeah,
iPhone
yeah,
as well,
yeah,
which
right.
would
Film
be his
camera.
first experience for
Always.
most kids, SLR.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Proper way. And in doing so, it sort of opens up a whole new world for
Yeah.
this young
Yeah,
girl.
nice.
And yeah.
True story?
True story.
Yeah,
Yes.
based on Jubby, the writer-director's
Yes.
personal story.
Yeah.
That's what happened to her as a young woman up in the Kimberleys.
Yeah.
And she saw through that the way that the arts can heal.
Yes, it's obviously a transformative experience.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, did you have to get permission to be able to shoot up and around Karijini in particular?
Absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah. So, the traditional mob up there were wonderful, very welcoming. Obviously, you've got to be incredibly respectful.
Yeah.
Yep.
They are a lot of sacred places on those countries.
Yeah, extraordinary.
Well, speaking of talents too, to add to that, have you you're writing books? Where you
Yes.
at with your
You're
books?
a slashy.
I'm actually working on a middle grade kids novel series at the moment. So I was just talking before, I've got a deadline next week, and I'm like,
that would give me anxiety, a deadline.
And you're
little
doing
bit panicked.
promos for your movie as well.
yes, which is really exciting. I can't wait for it to come out. I think the first one will be out in October, I think.
Yeah.
Hey, in Australia, when you're writing a book, do they do when you see it in America? Do they give an advance? Is that what they do? Because
It's a bit of a token gesture.
I was going to say I would never spend that advance in case I didn't get it done enough. I go, no, the money back.
You have
back.
to pay it back if you don't.
Do
do it.
you? Oh my god!
Yeah.
But no, in Australia, it's unfortunately we're not in the kind of realm of some of those big American things.
Yeah.
But it's a bit of a token gesture, and then you hope that the book sells, and then you get your cut from that.
Sometimes I think about like when Prince Harry brought out Spare, and they gave him the advance, and it was like millions and millions of dollars. He goes like, oh my god!
No, I have to actually do this.
There's a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
All right. Well, check out Sweet As, everybody, to see Tasma's fine work. Thank you for coming in.
Thank you for having me.
Nathan, Nat and Sean is a Nova podcast. For more great comedy shows like this, head to novapodcasts.com.au. Nova.